23 inches of snow buried Boston in just 48 hours. Over 30 people dead across the country. And the second storm, it's going to be worse. Here's what we know. And honestly, you need to hear this. Between January 23rd and 27th, a massive winter system slammed the East Coast. We're talking a literal bomb cyclone forming off the Atlantic. Boston. Logan Airport recorded 23.2 inches of snowfall. That's nearly 2 feet, making this one of the top 10 worst storms in Boston's history. Some towns around Massachusetts, they got hit with 27 inches. That's taller than most kitchen counters, just so you can picture it. Now let me break down what actually went down during those 4 days. Streets were completely buried, cars abandoned in the middle of highways. People literally had to leave their vehicles and walk home in whiteout conditions. And here's where it gets real heartbreaking. A woman in Norwood, a suburb just outside Boston, was walking with her husband after grocery shopping. Visibility was maybe 6 feet, everything covered in white. A snowplow came through and struck her. She didn't make it. Her husband watched it happen and couldn't do a damn thing. That was death number 30 in just 1 week. Across the entire country, over 30 people lost their lives to this weather. Hypothermia, car accidents, people freezing in their own homes. Now, check out these numbers from just January 25th alone. In Massachusetts, there were 149 reported accidents. 234 vehicles broke down or got stuck on the roads. At least 7 people were injured in collisions caused by ice and snow. One day, 149 crashes. Think about that. And the city of Boston, they received over 6,000 complaints about snow removal. Sidewalks buried for days. People with disabilities literally trapped in their homes. Parents couldn't push strollers. Elderly folks couldn't leave their apartments. The city just didn't have enough plows to keep up. Let's talk about the airport situation, because it was an absolute nightmare. Thousands of flights were canceled at Logan International during the peak of the storm. We're talking about people stranded in terminals for days, sleeping on benches, families trying to get home, business travelers stuck indefinitely. The airport basically turned into a frozen ghost town. Public transportation wasn't any better. Trust me. The T-Boston subway system was running at barely half capacity. Bus routes were suspended. Train lines delayed for hours. People who rely on public transit to get to work, to get to medical appointments, screwed. And we haven't even talked about the economic damage yet. While official numbers for Boston aren't out, storms like this typically cost hundreds of millions, sometimes billions when you factor in infrastructure damage, lost business, emergency response. Small businesses had to shut down for days, losing critical revenue. Restaurants, shops, service providers, all bleeding money. Now here's what really pisses people off. Days after the snow stopped falling, streets were still unplowed. The city was working around the clock, but the sheer volume made it impossible to keep up. And because temperatures stayed so cold, the snow wasn't melting naturally either. So it just sat there, turning into ice, making everything even more dangerous. All right, so that was storm number 1. But here's the kicker. Meteorologists are tracking a second major system, and early forecasts suggest this one could match or even exceed the first storm's intensity. We're potentially looking at another 15 to 25 inches in some areas. Boston still hasn't finished cleaning up from the last one, and now this. Let me give you a broader picture of what's happening across the Northeast. New York City is bracing for significant snowfall, possibly 12 to 18 inches. Philadelphia could see anywhere from 10 to 16 inches depending on the storm track. Portland. Maine is expected to get absolutely hammered, maybe 20 plus inches. And it's not just coastal cities either. Inland areas like Worcester, Massachusetts, and Hartford, Connecticut are in the danger zone. These places could see even heavier accumulations because of elevation and temperature patterns. Providence. Rhode Island is looking at similar totals to Boston. We're talking about a regional crisis here, not just one city's problem. Now, I want to hear from you guys in the comments. Where are you watching from? And do you want me to break down the forecast for your specific area? Drop your city or state below, and I'll do my best to get you the latest info. Because honestly, this thing is evolving fast, and everyone needs to stay informed. Let me tell you what people should be doing right now. If you're in the projected path of this second storm, stock up on essentials today. Water, non-perishable food, batteries, flashlights, medications, Make sure your phone is charged and you have backup power sources. Check on elderly neighbors, people who live alone, anyone who might need help. Bring pets inside. Make sure they have food and water for several days. If you have a car, fill up your gas tank now before the rush hits. Keep an emergency kit in your vehicle blankets. Food, water, a shovel. And look, I'm not trying to freak anyone out here, but after what we just saw happen in Boston, preparation isn't optional. This is about keeping yourself and your family safe. Let's talk about some of the specific dangers people need to watch out for. Carbon monoxide poisoning becomes a serious risk during storms like this. People run generators indoors, use gas stoves for heat, and that can be deadly. Never, and I mean never, run a generator inside your house or garage. Hypothermia can set in faster than you think, especially if you lose power. Layer your clothing, stay dry, and if your heat goes out, gather in one room with blankets. Frostbite is another major concern when you're dealing with sub-zero wind chills. Exposed skin can freeze in under 10 minutes in these conditions. Cover your face, wear insulated gloves, protect your extremities, and driving only do it if it's absolutely necessary. We already saw what happened with 149 accidents in a single day. Black ice is invisible, and roads can go from clear to impassable in minutes. For those of you in rural areas, the situation can be even more challenging. Plow trucks prioritize main roads, so side streets and rural routes get hit last. You might be snowed in for days before help arrives. Make sure you have enough supplies to be self-sufficient for at least a week. Now, let's address something a lot of people have been asking about. Why are these storms getting so intense and frequent? Climate scientists point to shifting jet stream patterns and warming ocean temperatures. These bomb cyclones form when cold Arctic air collides with warm ocean currents. The temperature difference creates explosive atmospheric pressure drops. And as global patterns shift, we're seeing more of these extreme events. What used to be a once-in-a-decade storm is now happening every few years. All right, back to the immediate situation. Emergency management officials across the Northeast are activating winter storm protocols. National Guard units are on standby in several states. Warming shelters are being opened for people who lose power or heat. Schools in multiple districts have already announced closures for the coming week. State governments are urging non-essential workers to stay home. Some governors have declared states of emergency to free up resources and funding. Here's something that really highlights how serious this is. Major retailers like Home Depot and Lowe's have been selling out of generators and salt. Grocery stores are seeing panic buying of bread, milk, and canned goods. Gas stations are running low on fuel in some areas. People remember what happened last week, and they're not taking chances this time. For those who experienced the first storm, the trauma is still fresh. Imagine being stuck in your home for 4 days, watching the snow pile up. No power, no heat, wondering if help is coming. And now you're being told it's about to happen all over again. That's the reality for millions of people right now. So what's the timeline looking like for this second storm? Current models show it potentially hitting late this week into the weekend. That gives people maybe 48 to 72 hours to prepare, depending on location. The storm is expected to intensify rapidly as it moves up the coast. Peak snowfall rates could reach 2 to 3 inches per hour in some areas. That's the kind of rate that makes roads impassable almost instantly. Wind gusts could exceed 50 miles per hour, creating whiteout blizzard conditions. Coastal areas need to watch for flooding too, as storm surge combines with high tides. Before I wrap this up, I want to give a shout out to all the essential workers. The plow drivers working 16-hour shifts in brutal conditions. The emergency responders who are out there, no matter what the weather throws at them. The utility workers trying to restore power in sub-zero temperatures. The healthcare workers who still have to get to the hospital to save lives. These people are heroes, and they deserve all the respect and support we can give. All right, let me leave you with this. The first storm killed 30 people and brought one of America's toughest cities to its knees. The second storm is coming, and it could be just as bad or worse. If you're in the Northeast, especially from DC to Maine, take this seriously. Prepare now, check on your neighbors, and stay safe. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and if you need specific forecast info for your area, stay warm out there, and I'll see you in the next one.